Hi everyone, it's Nicole from My Christmas. Nice to see you here on Sunday evening. Hope you've had a nice weekend. A little bit of a chance to go out for a walk in between the rains and so forth yesterday, and today a bit better. So thank you again for joining us. Today what I'm going to do is show you how to make a garland for Christmas. Now you've seen recently we've done a table centerpiece, we've done a larger table centerpiece, and then you've got the larger piece again, which is obviously the garland. But what you will see if you watch regularly is that the processes are pretty similar. So once you understand the processes for one, you can make pieces as long as you want. We do garlands. We had a garland out the front of the shop which was about 13 metres we did last year, exactly the same way as we're going to do it today, just sections and joining the sections together when we get ready to hang it. So you can make your garland as big as you want. I'm using the Alberta garland today. We've got two types of garland. Our garlands are, I always forget to check the prices beforehand. I must say I've been rushing all day trying to get ready for tonight. Around $55 for the garland for a 2.7 or 9 foot piece. This is the 1.2 metre or 4 foot piece, and it's around $30. The garlands that we have, when you compare them to other garlands, they're just thicker. There's a lot more tips on them, and they're a stronger wire. If you get a sort of less expensive garland, often the wiring is quite light in them. Okay, but you might already have garlands at home that you're working with. So this is the Alberta, which is all one type of foliage. I don't know if you want to come in a little bit, Hugh, so you can see it's all the same tip on it. The other one we have is the New Hampshire, which is similar to the two centerpieces that I did during the week. We have lighter, lighter green tips mixed with the darker green tips and slightly different widths on them. Okay, now what I'm going to do today is I'm working on a 1.2 metre piece, because what I decided was we're going to be hanging, this is actually going into the store, so we actually needed 2.4 or probably 2.7 metre, but I decided to do it in two sections because one, it's easier for me to transport. You can see how you can join garlands together, so I'm only going to do one, but I'll show you the process of adding a second one. And when you have garland lights on your garland, we often use our garland lights, and these are 3 metre lengths, and I like to have 2 of these on a normal 2.7 metre, or in this case a 2.4 metre garland, because if I put one set of these on a standard garland, they're just going to sit down the middle, and they don't have any structure, so you want to weave them backwards and forwards. Now, normally I would light the garland before I work on it if I'm not overfilling the garland. But if I'm going to put a lot of stuff on it, then sometimes I'll choose to put the lights on afterwards. I'm not going to be able to show you either in this one because I've brought home the wrong plug. So I've got the lights available, but we don't have the plugs at the moment. But again, I showed you with the Ponderosa centerpiece that I did probably last Sunday, exactly the same process as far as how you put the lights on. Attach at either end, your beginning and your end of your lights. Find your middle point in your garland and your middle point of the lights and attach them, and then you can easily weave your lights through and you get even coverage throughout the whole garland. Right, so you can go back and have a look at that Facebook Live we did a couple of nights ago if you wanted to recheck how you do that. But as I said, I'm going to put quite a few balls and things on this, so I just thought I would put the lights on afterwards. And also, to be honest, we're still working on exactly how the display is going to be, so I'm not sure, we might add multicolour to this, or we might go with warm white. So I thought if I leave it till afterwards, it gives us the flexibility to see how the display is looking, and then add the lights. The other thing is we're actually doing the display, and we're going to have a lot of elves, and so I just brought this guy along. So we're actually creating some pieces for the elves to hang off or sit on and play through. So the elves are going to be the real centerpiece for this whole display that we're doing, and so that's something you can consider with your garlands. You can either leave them with just your balls or your flowers on it and your picks, or you can decide to add something like elves to your garlands as well. I always recommend that you put these in after it's in place, because you obviously want to position it exactly lined up depending on how your garland is sitting on the wall. And I would normally just run a stronger wire through the middle of the elf, and then tie him onto, if I can, tie him onto the centre stem of my garland to make it strong. But if he's hanging upside down, or if he's just sort of meant to be loosely hanging on your garland, you can also wrap the foliage around his arm or his leg to just keep it in place. So anyway, let me get started. So as I said, this is a half a garland. So with that in mind, I'm going to make some decisions about how I decorate it, because I know that I'm going to have a replica of it on the other side. If this was my only garland, I would probably, being me, I like to have something as a central point. But this one, effectively, this is my centre point here, because I'm going to have another one down further. So I'm going to work knowing that I want to put something across the middle when I join it. And this garland is going to go around a door frame, and it's actually going to bend down, you know, if you're around the door, it's going to sort of hang down like that around the side. You can see what I'm talking about there, Hugh. Bend enough. I've also fluffed the garland out really well, so you can see it sits nice and flat because it's going to be against a wall, but got all the other foliage up nice and high, so always make sure you take the time just to fluff your garland out before you start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have prepped all my baubles. I have glued, just want to go in, so all the baubles have had hot glue put around these.
You can't see it very well, but I think you can kind of see it. Yeah, maybe on those ones. Yeah, that's better.
So I've glued all of those in advance. And what I've also done is I've grouped a few of these together onto pipe cleaners. So whenever I'm doing my main pieces, it's good to have them grouped, and you can put 2 or 3 in at once, and that fills it quickly, and you get your frame in place. So I'm going to, as I said, because this is going to go around a doorway and come down, I'm going to just attach one of these as sort of the end of my garland. And all I do, like everything else that we're working with, I'm just tying it in. And I want to make sure that I tie it so it's not going to fall off, so that I get right into the central stem of the garland. And I'm just going to tie it as tightly as I can. At the end of this, if you particularly, you can go through and clean up all your pipe cleaners and so forth. No one's going to see them when it's on the door. But see, that just gives you the end of your garland hanging down there. Then that particular piece is a flocked ornament. These are all shatterproof that I'm using tonight, so nothing's glass on here. And that one is the most expensive. That's $20 for an ornament, $19.95. And the others range, a lot of them are ball packs that I've just had, loose ones that I've just worked with. This is our 15 centimetre bauble, so don't ever be afraid to use this larger size in your piece. And as I said, I would normally have 2 of these, so remember I'm going to have a second one on my second garland. Alright, so I just want to spread this out so that I've got it kind of roughly, it's not going to be too close to the join mark there, and I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm just going to put this tied in. Because I've already done the glued the caps, I can tie pretty tightly and not have to worry that it's going to fall apart. And then you just put your foliage back in place. Now, what I've mixed up here is then some of these, you can see our colours, the red, white and green. So I'm going to work with 2 of these here, and then I can work other pieces in. And I can already see that I've actually gone this one slightly too far, so let me just fix that. And because it's tied in, it's very easy to just untie it, and I'm just going to move it to my left a little bit to give me a bit more of a centred finish. I don't know if I'm twisting it or twisting it. Yeah, gorgeous. Another question I get asked all the time in relation to garlands is how you can attach them. And if you're really keen on garlands and you're wanting to look at other designs and so forth, you can go way back to probably about November last year in our feed. And I showed you my house here, and I actually think I did a Facebook Live doing a garland in champagne pewters and soft blue. So that's also there. And what people were asking and what we showed you was how you attach it to the wall. We use 3M hooks. So if you've got a normal regular matte finish wall, you can put 3M hooks, but if I had a 2.7 metre garland, I'd probably have about 8, maybe even 10 hooks. And you always want to, that's the hook I'm talking about, Hugh. Yeah, which did have a bow on it. I'm not sure where the bow's gone. I must have used it on something. But they're just bought at Bunnings. And you want to try and get them set up on your garland, on the wall 24 hours before you're hanging the garland, so it has a chance to set. Okay, so now we're just going to, I've got 2 white here, so I'm just twisting the pieces around to try and, kind of mix the colours together nicely. And again, because it all tied on one piece of pipe cleaner, I'm just using my central stem here and just tying it tightly. You can see how quickly this can come together for you. And there was nothing in it, just 3 balls onto the pipe cleaner. Okay, so then we're going to sort of look at what else we've got going on here and what we want to mix. You can see I'm actually looking mainly for baubles on this one. I'm going to use a few picks and break the picks apart. I might see if I want to add some sort of sprays of picks as well. But my base, because I'm going to have the L's, which are going to be my feature on it, I just want this to be nice and colourful. So all I'm doing is just working in between the spaces now that I've got already forming in my garland, and I've put on here, these are 2 12cm balls. In this case I've used a 12 and a 10 purely because I didn't have to. I just tried to not open extra packets. I went with the ones that we already had in stock. You can see how quickly this starts to come together. And makes the process really quite easy. And of course, because you've used pipe cleaners, if you do want to take these off, you can. You'll see I'm going to glue in the final pieces, so in this case I wouldn't do that. I'll show you. So these, like you see me do a lot, one of our picks, I've used this in a display, I finished with the display, so I'm actually going to take all of these ends off and use them and glue them straight onto my foliage as well. I find that the picks, when you break them down like this, it's a really nice way of getting lots of interest to your piece without, spending fortune. If you wanted to have, these picks right through the wreath, you probably, sorry, I keep saying wreath, garland, you're probably looking at needing 12, 15 of them to really fill it out. But you can get a touch of that by just using these on your garland as well. Before I go any further, you might you just stand up here and just have a look at how we're going so far.
Yeah, it's a bit. If I go like this, you might get a better look.
Don't look at my mess.
It's a bit big, so it's hard to get in the whole thing in.
So you get all the other stuff out of the way. So
And if I turn it.
no, they don't see it like that.
Oh well.
Right, get an idea. All right. So then we'll start just putting some of these. Oh, we could put some of these on. Now I do often with the smaller balls. I will decide with the smaller ones to just glue them in rather than tying them in because it's so much quicker to do. So just a bit of glue around the top. Remember this is damn hot, so just watch yourself and don't hold it. I do try with these wherever I've taken it off like there's always a little bit of foam showing where you've taken off the pit. So you do try and glue onto that side. Oh god, I'm just going to keep doing that, so just ignore it. And I just want to mix the colours up a bit. And these are really good for getting on the outside branches as well, these little foam balls, so that you get the depth all the way around, not just across the middle. So this, I just, rather than sitting here sticking, we see that. Let me just show you a couple of other things that we could do. So if we did want to spray things out of here, we could do that. I'm just going to see how it looks first, and then if I'm happy, then I can attach these pieces to the frame as well. So when I refer to the frame, just the metal, the middle of the garland. Come on, Jen. And so all you will do, if you want to keep them on, is using a long or a short pipe cleaner. I'll just see if I can get in here and show you from your end, Hugh. So I've just grabbed the middle. This is a very fine wire in the pick, so it's easy to, once I attach it, to kind of reshape the pick to whatever direction I want. If you've got a particularly thick stem on your pick, then you might want to just have it shaped first before it goes in there, but see how I can actually put this however I want it to go. So I can just clear, I feel like you can't see anything here. So if we wanted to have those through, we could do that. I'm just going to stand up so I can... I don't know that I want them this one. I'm going to leave it there just so you can see, you can see how it looks. I do that a lot. We use a lot of these picks, particularly if we add florals. And that's the other thing. You can, where I've got a central ball here, you could easily put 2 poinsettias, so in exactly the same way as we did with our centerpiece the other day, where we just tied them into place. You could have you could have 2 poinsettias and a couple of baubles to create a center on your garland. So don't be afraid to use flowers. You can use little birds on them as well if you wanted to add a little bit. Some of the pretty birds that are available, but often they're clip-ons, so you can just add that when it's in place. Just want to see how this looks sprayed through, so again you can get an idea. So this is $7.95. So $7.95, it's pretty small. You're going to need a lot of them if you want it to be a really big part of your garland. But otherwise, you could choose to buy a few, break them off, and use those sweet little balls scattered through and glued into your piece. Or you could just, even if you decided to have them just through the middle, around the middle piece here. I think I'm really liking the sleeve. So I'm just explaining today. So I'm really just liking these on there. So my preference for this is to, as I'm doing here, just put a few more of these on here. I'm actually going to take them out, so I don't pop them. I don't think I need it for what I'm doing. And I'll untie the last one that's there. And I think I would like to... I'll untie that in a sec. I'm going to just keep gluing some of these on. But when you put it up, then you can also have a look and see if you want any sprays coming out the top. You may want to even just a spray at the middle, so you might put a few picks in and just stick them underneath your garland, between the wall and the garland. Or if you had on the corners, you could have a little bit of a spray coming out. Now, of course, you can use ribbons in garlands as well. We've done plenty with ribbons, but this is just one that's using just balls. And as I said, it's exactly the same setup if you want to use balls and flowers and picks in it. So they're the techniques, no different to what we did with the centerpiece. Tying them in with pipe cleaners, gluing them, obviously gluing the caps on first, working from our largest size ball down to our smallest, and working in sections. So using the bigger balls and the bigger grouping of balls to separate your garland into sections. And that also helps you to, if you've got a limited number, I can obviously go and grab another box of baubles at the store. But if you break it down like that, then you can work with what you've got and you can spread things out as you need. But I think it always has a lot of impact if you go with some of these bigger size. Don't be afraid of these big balls. A lot of Australians tend to go and they go shopping and they buy these 7-centimetre balls. And that's okay, but if you want the luscious look of a kind of more opulent garland, then you want to have some of these bigger size balls, the 12 centimetre, the 10 centimetre, and even the 15 centimetre size on there. These are all our Vickerman balls. We will be getting more of these, so some of the colours are not in stock yet. All of this is coming in, so don't panic if you're not seeing a colour. They'll probably be in, I'm imagining, August this year from that supplier. And we will keep going with more of sort of demos with different colours and so forth. And if you wanted to see how to hang it and see another colour combination, as I said, go back to kind of November and look for our Facebook Live that we did then. I hope you have a great couple of days. As usual, I don't know what I'm doing Tuesday. Wait for the inspiration when I'm at the shop tomorrow. Back with the staff again tomorrow, yay. So we're doing some more prep and cleaning up and getting ready for the new season and new stock. And I'm always on Messenger if you've got questions for me. So have a great night, everyone. Thanks again and see you soon.